on the 2nd of January, what we know is that Ken Ofori-Atta, and on the 2nd of January, President Akufo-Addo was still the president.
Right.
And so the chief of staff will be Madam Akosua Frema-Osei Opare.
Right.
So on the 2nd of January, Ken Ofori-Atta did inform Madam Frema-Osei Opare that he has to embark on a trip outside the country, specifically to the United States of America, for health check and on health grounds.
Right.
And as it were, he received the clearance to go. And so on the 2nd of January, that is the day after New Year's Day, he traveled out of the jurisdiction and has been out there till date. Now, on the 22nd of January, Ken Ofori-Atta had reason to relay the information of his travel to the current chief of staff. Now, the current chief of staff took office on the 7th of January. Then on the 22nd of January.
Let me be clear.
Yes.
So he decided also to inform the new chief of staff.
The new chief of staff.
Was he obliged to do that?
So from I don't think he was, but perhaps there were some issues happening that, and if you look at the source of information that we are referring to, you would notice that in his communication to the current chief of staff, which is Julius Deborah, he did indicate that please do not hesitate to reach out if there is any information you would require from me in the interest of the state with respect to my former position in government.
So this would be around transition issues.
Exactly.
Anything that you need to know, let me know.
Exactly.
This is where I am.
Yes.
You may not have got the letter that I sent to Frema a few days before you, but I'm here.
But so what happened was that he actually went ahead to even attach his communication with Frema to the communication
He then sent
to Julius.
Right.
That's the further steps that he took.
Right.
And this was on 22nd. So that means that it's 20 days after he had traveled.
Right.
And effectively, it was about 13 days after the new chief of staff took office. He took office on the 7th. He wrote these communications to him on the 22nd. So technically speaking, we are talking about 15 days.
So he allowed the new chief of staff to settle down and he said, by the way, Hanamwo. Okay.
All right. Then, interestingly, on the 24th of January 2025, the special prosecutor writes to Ken Ofori-Atta requesting for him to attend to the office of the special prosecutor. 22nd or 24th of January.
Right.
So this is 2 days after he had informed the current chief of staff of his whereabouts and his availability to assist in all efforts necessary in the interest of the state.
Right.
Okay. So 24th, this letter goes to Ken Ofori-Atta's home. According to the correspondence we have seen, it was dropped at the doorpost or at the security post. And the security person did due diligence by handing over the letter to his boss. And so his boss, having read the letter and knowing that he was out of the jurisdiction, you know, these days you can get a letter, take a picture and send it.
And send it by phone.
By phone.
So by the way, when Abba.
Yeah. I mean, it's so easy.
Right.
It's not rocket science anymore. It's not those times that you need a fax machine. You have to wind the fax machine before the thing can send. And even when it sends, some lines are distorted. You don't know. These days, with my phone, I can just take a picture. And I would have sent you a complete duplicate of the actual documents that I have lying before me. So I believe that is what happened on 24th. Then guess what? 24th was a Friday, 24th January. A week on, 31st of January, which was also a Friday, Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers, Menka Premo, Osei Bonsu, and
Cal Thin or whatever.
Yes,
called,
partners.
Yeah.
And you know, in this country, who represents you as a lawyer is very important. And that is the reason why you have seen that sometimes some people have cases and they are hauled before the Supreme Court. They go with certain kind of lawyers. The reason is because
Their classmates, the people there.
Yeah. So who is your lawyer is very, very important.
Right.
Yeah. So even the current Attorney General, if you remember, during the election petition of 2020, he had a problem with the Supreme Court. When he was going, he went with Bechem. He's a lawyer, senior lawyer, big lawyer, respected lawyer. In fact, there was another case, I think another election petition, when the guy was going, he went with Ayikwe Otu.
Okay. That's how serious it was.
Yes. You know, so who is your lawyer is very important. So Ken's lawyer, Menka Premu, there is nobody in Ghana
who doesn't
know Menka Premu or Sebonsu as lawyers in this country. There's no, if you don't know, it means there's a problem.
Okay.
So his lawyers on Friday 31st wrote to the special prosecutor and said, our client gave notice to the former chief of staff in early January and more recently to the current chief of staff of his trip outside the country on medical grounds. Our client is currently undergoing medical observation and test culminating in medical decisions to be taken in due course. As to the way forward with treatment, after that, he will have a better idea of when he is able to proceed to Ghana. We are therefore humbly bringing to your attention that we shall give you notice of his arrival in the country so as to reschedule your invitation to him for purposes as stated in the heading of your letter under reference.
Right.
So you see Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers indicating that we acknowledge that special prosecutor, you have a right to invite our clients.
Right.
We accept the invitation. However, because of the present circumstances, we can't honor the invitation, which was supposed to be on the 10th of February. That's 3 days ago. So because we can't honor it, we are ready to let you know when our client receives clearance to proceed medical clearance to proceed to Ghana, and then we can reschedule the meeting. What it means is that Ken Ofori-Atta and his lawyers are clearly stating that the invitation of the special prosecutor, first of all, is important, and that it must be attended to. However, because of the present circumstances, I cannot attend to it. So allow me some space so that I can attend to it when I have that space.
Right.
That is what I see happening here. All right. So on the 5th of February, now, so this is, I've talked about a few dates, from 2nd to 22nd to 24th to 31st. Now we are on the 5th of February. So on the 5th of February, the special prosecutor replied to the Menka Premo letter of 31st January. And essentially, this is what the special prosecutor's response to this letter states. It says that the OSP declines your request to be away from the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds. On your say-so, you are directed to indicate by close of business on Monday, 10th February 2025, a reasonable date of your return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. If you fail to do so, the OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure your return to the jurisdiction and attend at the OSP at our own choosing. So, Mr. Kissi Agyebeng
was being very rude.
Yes,
the request was humbly request.
Exactly so. Exactly.
He was just being damn rude.
So
let's be clear.
Yeah. So I'm actually taken aback when he says that Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta is decided to remain out of the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds on his say-so. Because when I read the letters of his lawyers are actually saying that our client is receiving medical attention. He is supposed to receive clearance. When he receives clearance, he intends to come back to Ghana.
And he's going to make himself available.
And when he comes, he will make himself available, except to say that he cannot say when he is able to come because of the medical circumstances. So the OSP interprets that to mean indefinite. That's how he interprets it. Ken Ofori-Atta not being able to say, I'll come on 10th of 14th of February or 20th of February. So
he's being rude.
Yes, and so he's not being definite.
Right.
And it's indefinite. That's how he saw it. Okay. So on the 7th of February, 2 days after the 5th of February letter.
After the declining of the, I'll let you know later.
Exactly.
That one, I don't accept it from Minka Pemo. So they get a letter, and then what happens on the 7th?
So on the 7th, Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers decided to write back to the special prosecutor following his response, because his response was like, I don't accept your indefinite, according to him, your indefinite decision to be out of the country at your say so. So provide me a specific date.
Before the 10th.
Before the 10th. Okay. So Ofori-Atta's lawyers say, please find attached here to a document indicating that our client is receiving medical attention at Mayo Clinic in the USA, detailing his appointment and suggestive of a post-match date when our client may be able to be in Ghana. A post-match date. So the lawyers are proceeding out of the abundance of caution, because they don't want to come up and say that we will come back on the 10th of March. And then 10th of March comes and they don't come up. That amounts to lying to a public officer. So the lawyers are proceeding cautiously by saying that from the medical records and from the doctors who are handling this specific case, they are saying that there could be a surgery in the month of March. Usually when you have a surgery, you need 2-3 weeks to recover.
And then the doctors have to monitor you.
Exactly.
And then they have to clear you.
Yes.
Nobody else, you can't clear yourself.
And you know, the special prosecutor is not the age of Ken Ofori-Atta. Ken Ofori-Atta is almost 70, I believe.
Yes. He's my age mate. Not my age mate, but he's he's
in your group.
He's my people.
You are 60 something.
Yes, exactly. He's my people. He's older than me, but he's my people.
Yeah. So the health challenges of I mean, it's young. If we my mom is 68.
There you go.
And she lives with me. I know the health issues I have to deal with. Sometimes emergencies. Sometimes I know, I understand. Yeah, but if you are like,
but obviously Mr. Agyebeng does not understand.
Yeah, if you are 40 years like me, like if you are around 40 like me, you don't have certain kind of.
You certainly also you'd be certainly less likely to receive sympathy on medical grounds.
Yeah.
But at a certain age, it is expected, out of respect, that you'd bear that in mind. And correct me if I'm wrong. This particular former finance minister. This is an ongoing medical problem that he has been absent from his ability to even do his job before.
You know, in 2020 into 2021, before Akufo-Addo's second term, Ken Ofori-Atta, even though he had been nominated as finance minister designate at the time, he was out of the duration on health grounds. And that's because he had COVID, and post-COVID, he had post-COVID complications. And this was made public. And it led to several medical processes that he had to go through. Thankfully, he successfully went through them, and we all saw him actually recovering. You know, this was somebody who was not well, but was living a public life. And so he was living his public life with his health challenges. So you could see it. You didn't need rocket science, or he wasn't hiding in some bed and then people covering up.
He was still trying to do his job.
Yeah, he was public. Yeah, so you could all see.
To the extent, I believe that he was at one time he was unable to actually read the budget, and it had to be read.
Oh yes, that was when the majority leader then stood in to read the 2021 budget
on his behalf. Right. Yes. Okay.
So you know, in the letter that we are talking about coming from the hospital, which is the Mayo Hospital, and if you recall, this Mayo Hospital back then, when Mr. Ofori-Atta wasn't well in 2021, it was the same hospital that he went to.
And for those of us who don't know the Mayo Clinic, it's called the Mayo Clinic. It's so famous that you must be actually blind, cannot read Google, before you'd say you don't know the Mayo Clinic. If you like, right now, say you have symptoms of something, and then ask Google. It will direct you to the Mayo Clinic.
Absolutely.
That's where it'll direct you to.
So if you look at the details as we are instructed on, the Mayo Hospital letter stated Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta was undergoing further testing and management, including possible surgical intervention in March of 2025. The hospital's letter also provided reliable contact information, a doctor's name, a department name, a phone number, and an email address. It was also stamped Mayo Clinic authentic document with a signature and a date.
Which was the 7th of January, I believe.
Yes.
7th of February.
7th of February. So if you are even in doubt, because of the level of details provided, you can always check and be sure. Okay, so let's quickly move from 7th. On the 11th, Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers wrote to the special prosecutor, and this time around, their complaint was about the raid that went on in his house. And they were thinking and requesting to know whether it was the OSP that was behind this raid. And the OSP did not respond to the 11th of February letter. And then on the 12th of February, held a press conference and declared Mr. Ofori-Atta as fugitive from justice and wanted man. Yeah.
How much of a challenge do we have with the right arm not knowing what the left arm is doing, is doing in this particular situation? Because it would appear that Mr. Agyebeng is not fully briefed on, things that are happening in the government.
Yeah. Okay. So Mr. Agyebeng's work, Kissi Agyebeng's work as special prosecutor, is limited to investigating corruption and corruption-related offenses. I don't think that he sits in national security briefings. I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think he is seized with all of national security operations in the country.
Right. The reason why I asked this, Wilberforce, is because if you have got investigators assigned to you from our National Investigation Services, which he does have, a trained investigator will tell you, look, Ansano baby, I'm going to check with Customs and Excise. I can tell you what date he left this country. I can tell you what the visa says on his return. I can also call the Mayo Clinic to confirm with the doctor, not the terms of his illness, but that they're to verify.
Is he there?
Is he
really receiving medical checks?
It can't be that difficult.
In fact, the United States of America is by flight some 10 hours away from here.
So what you say, you can buy a ticket, send an
I mean,
investigator there.
It's not rocket science. We have done it several times.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So we are a little bit challenged by the sequence of events here, but so the finally, before you wrap up, so the special prosecutor then says at his press conference, what is he saying about the raid? So it had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So at the press conference, first he says it is not the OSP. Then he goes ahead to indicate that he thinks it was staged. And that is where a lot of people have problems with, because subsequently we have now received further and better particulars, knowing that the raid was carried out by operatives of national security.
Certainly not people that Mr. Ofori-Atta, who's not in the jurisdiction, would be able to manufacture and send to his own house.
Exactly. And also the interesting thing is the timelines. How that the raid happened just a day before the press conference.
Right.
So who knew what? And that is one of the questions that people are asking, because my little security understanding, perhaps there were elements in the system who knew that Mr. Kissi Agyebeng was going to take the steps that he took on the 12th.
So therefore...
And so they decided to preempt it.
Right.
It's like, we know, so let's take action. And that is what I see as happening in these whole pictures. It's quite interesting. But this declaration of Ken Ofori-Atta wanted and a fugitive of justice, for me, is practically much ado about nothing.
Yeah, it's a little bit questionable to make that kind of pronouncement. There are also impacts. Thank you so much, Wilberforce, for that briefing, and to get the scheduling right, to get the the timelines right. And remember that if the person is miles away from where you are, even communications might be a little bit questionable. But it seems that a lot has gone on here that was done in reasonable time. Maybe some people jumped the gun a little bit. We don't know. I'm getting a chance to talk to Kwaku Ansa-Asare, former director, Ghana School of Law, get his legal sense. There's a lot of stuff going on. I also want to ask him about the whole issues around searches in Ghana and how they are conducted and what is a legitimate search by security personnel and how it should be conducted. But we'll firstly say good morning to him. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. Sir, I think you've been aware of and you've heard what's been going on over the last few days with the whole issue around the OSP and his pronouncements. On first hearing what he said and then listening into what's been going on, what has been your initial reaction and your thoughts now?
Initially, was one of parents that in this day and age, we can declare an innocent citizen a fugitive running away from criminal justice, therefore wanted to immediately in Ghana. To do was, after he has been declared, is he now to stand trial? I thought that it should not be the other way around. And therefore, as far as I'm concerned, Ken Ofori-Atta, remains innocent. He has no charges have been preferred against him. He hasn't been brought before the court, to take his trial. He has not been accused of anything yet. So the Special Prosecutor, has jumped the gun. To put it, simply.
Right.
What he should have done was to have waited, give him time. If the person doesn't come, he can be tried in absentia. And whatever he wants to do, he can do, with him or against him. But you haven't tried the person, and then you declare him. And where did he get his law from? The law backing him, to make that declaration. So that declaration lacks legality and is therefore null and void.
Right, so
my advice is that given the level of corruption in the Akufo-Addo government, and given the fact that certain persons were, often mentioned, including Ken Ofori-Atta, who take, the legal way, they go through the legal processes and, bring them down,
right.
to face trial. And don't let us besmear them even before, we try them. Right now, what is going on, is trial, the court of public opinion. And I've stood against this type of trial. Innocent people are roundly condemned. They are crucified even before, the first shot is fired. That is not good enough, as a nation.
Right.
Let's do the proper thing. If they have stolen monies, we have laws to retrieve the money. If you declare the person, a fugitive, is on the wanted list, so what? Would that, bring back the money they've stolen? Nobody can convince me that Ken Ofori-Atta and others, did not dip their hands, too deep into the national coffers. We all saw what went on. This cathedral, saga. I mean, it's something that, whoever was involved must be punished.
Right.
So yes, they must punish them, but no, don't go about it, jungle style. That's not, our beef. Our beef now is that we have a constitution which, must take center stage. Anything you want to do, remember that we have a constitution.
Yeah.
The Special Prosecutor, owes his position, his office, to constitutionality. So everything, he tries to do, or what he desires to do, must, find support in the Constitution. If it is not based in the Constitution, he should not do it.
Okay, sir. I wanted to ask you, here's the thing. The person is not in the jurisdiction, and I am the Special Prosecutor, and I'm tasked to try and get some action going on an issue. Would it not warrant him, for example, saying, you know what, I'm declaring him wanted, so that would maybe push the person to come forward to try and clear himself?
Before you declare a person wanted, wouldn't you first have to go through the legal processes? What has he done? You've exchanged correspondence. That is not sufficient to form the basis of such a declaration. First of all, the declaration, besmears the former finance minister. Secondly, it runs counter to Ken Ofori-Atta's constitutional right of dignity of his person. Thirdly, Ken Ofori-Atta is a family man. Does the Special Prosecutor have any idea the implications and social repercussions of his utterances about, declaration of Ken Ofori-Atta as a wanted fugitive running away from justice? Because the man is a family man, he has relatives, he has children, grandchildren who may be attending some of our schools. I tell you, with these utterances, the members of the family, may not even be able to go out because they will see the fingers will be pointing at them. Look at them. Ofori-Atta's wife, Ofori-Atta's child, Ofori-Atta's grandchild. So let us go about it in a much more civilized and decent manner than merely saying that I'm Special Prosecutor, so I can do what I like. The Special Prosecutor is not above the law. He's subject to the law. There's only one set of law. We don't have two sets. So it's the same law that applies to me and to you that must apply to the Special Prosecutor and the so-called fugitives running away from justice, Ken Ofori-Atta.
Right.
I have none of that. It's not a good thing to do. He should go through the processes. And if he has the impression, that Ken Ofori-Atta will not come, or that Ken Ofori-Atta has done, anything, or giving the misleading impression that he's not going to come to the country, let him, go through the processes and try him in absentia. It's been done before. I think Kufuor's regime or Nanado's regime, a lady was declared, was tried in absentia, and she never came back. We can resort to the same thing. That will be, lawful and more distant, and fine-tuned, with our values. But, the way we do it is not the best.
Right. Now, there's a challenge, obviously. There's so many arms that are involved in investigation of corruption, of politically exposed persons and people associated with them these days. So there's always almost a competition for who should be doing the investigation and prosecution. How do you find this has been part of the problem of why this kind of thing has happened to Ken Ofori-Atta?
It's a perceived problem in search of a solution. It's not a problem at all. If we go through the constitutional processes, we will see that, up to now, there has been no problem. My submission is that by virtue of the exchange of correspondence between Ken Ofori-Atta and his lawyers on the one side and the Special Prosecutor on the other side, the Special Prosecutor has knowledge of the whereabouts of, Ken Ofori-Atta. The Special Prosecutor has knowledge of the health issues of Ken Ofori-Atta, the Special Prosecutor has knowledge of the jurisdiction in which Ken Ofori-Atta is residing at the moment. The Special Prosecutor is aware that Ken Ofori-Atta is not seeking to run away, giving the assurance that, after a certain time he will come, to Ghana to face the law. Why don't we respect that? And if a letter, was first dispatched on 24th January, I don't know when the Special Prosecutor received it. Today is 13th February. It's not even, 4 weeks. It's only 3 weeks. How do we use a time frame of 3 weeks to declare a person, a fugitive on the wanted list? 3 weeks. My brother, 3 weeks. No. This one is below the belt. It's hit below the belt.
Right.
It's totally uncalled for. For me, what a Special Prosecutor has done should rather be roundly condemned. He was a same person as Special Prosecutor when the rot went on under his watch and eyes. He saw it, he sniffed it, he heard about it. Ghanaians were angry, and we went on there from time to time saying that the former president Nana Kwaku Ansa-Asare had underestimated the anger in Ghanaians. When we're saying all these things on there, the Special Prosecutor, who has had a listening ear and has always put his ear to the ground, he heard about these things. He didn't do anything about it. So on grounds of the relation of duty and inertia for his passiveness, he should be relieved of his position. He is not competent. He has no moral right to do what he's doing now. If I were President Mahama, I would not even, employ him to do what he's doing. It's a disgrace. Not only to the Special Prosecutor, but a disgrace to the authority behind him. That I'm not saying that the Cathedral saga, for instance, we should sweep it under the carpet. No. I mean, I said it, on 2 times. Last year and the year before. Let Nanado account for all the loss of the colossal amount that he expended. And his finance minister was Ken Ofori-Atta.
Right.
In all these matters, we are failing to mention other names. Is it only Ken Ofori-Atta who did that?
All right. So we don't know whether these people have been called or spoken to by the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
That's why I said I stand to correction.
Right. But anyway.
But I think that in fairness, in accordance with Article 17, where the Special Prosecutor ought not discriminate at all.
Right.
The Constitution frowns upon discrimination. They should bring all the ministers. And if we widen the net, it will catch, current President, John Mahama and his former ministers of the SY government. Right. So let's widen the net, to go back to 2000 when, the MPP and the NDC, up to, Rawlings, enough has been said. But we should not limit what is going on. The Special Prosecutor should not limit the declaration to Ken Ofori-Atta alone. It should go back to 2000. Because the Kufo applied the law on costing financial loss. We'll get many more there. You see? And then, because equality before the law.
Right.
Equality before the law. So if we have all faith, let us all face, the anger of God. Not one person should be singled out to, face the wrath of the good Lord. All of us. So I'm saying that, we should do the right thing, bring them down, get the money. We won't need IMF support if we are able to recover everything that ministers from 2000 to date have stolen. Let them bring the money back. That's what we need. We don't need declaration of, fugitive. We need the money. Let them bring, the money.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask you, in your opinion, is there a role for the Office of the Special Prosecutor in today's Ghana?
Is there what?
Is there a role for the office of the Special Prosecutor in today's Ghana?
Oh yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you know,
you see, there have been calls, for some time now about the desirability of decoupling, the office of the Minister of Justice from, the office of the Attorney General.
Right.
And in the interim, I think, some of the things that, the Attorney General Minister, for Justice, as a politician, cannot do, you can give to a neutral person.
Right.
And that is why the office of the Special Prosecutor, is desirable. But you need a person with wit, a person with moral courage, a person, who is discerning sufficiently enough, to be able to tell the president, to his face that this, should not be done. That can be done. And in all these things, there must be a necessary relationship between the office of the Attorney General and the Special Prosecutor. If you ask me, whether we are not duplicating, the work and other functions of the Director of Public Prosecution, there I have some difficulty because it seems to me that it is almost the same thing.
Right.
But this Special Prosecutor thing, is something that the Americans, brought. I think it started with Bill Clinton,
right?
If not, before. So they know why, they created the office of Special Prosecutor. In England, the Lord Chancellor used, to provide advisory services, to the Prime Minister and the Queen, now the King.
Right.
But we are copying, and we haven't, taken, our time, to study the values of, the office of Special Prosecutor. We felt that politically, it sounds good, and therefore we can use it. That is, what is creating the problem.
Okay.
So maybe if we, we took our time, we'll realize that quite a number of the functions that, the office of the Special Prosecutor, is supposed to do are being carried out, by the Director of Public Prosecution.
Right.
But the two, can coexist.
Right.
But because we don't have money, have money, yes, it has a role today, but no, as duplicity, it can be scrapped off, so that the office or the Director of Public Prosecution will, take on, as that office used to do, the responsibilities of the Special Prosecutor. It seems to me that the Special Prosecutor is being used, by our politicians as a tool, to cover up for their sins. What is going on now? I tell you, the next government, be it a CPP government or whatever government, they will do the same thing, to current appointees. And this is where I think that we should take a second look, at the office of the Special Prosecutor. It is going to be like an albatross in that around our necks for many years to come. So yes, it has a role, but no, it is politically suicidal and unwise, to have a Special Prosecutor in present day Ghana, because we don't know, how to use it. It's a tool to which hand, which is not good for anyone. So today, you do me, I do you. That is the popular balance. You do me, I do you. Dog, by dog, no blood. We should stop that.
Okay, sir. I want to say...
And be more serious.
Thank you so much for your time this morning and for the education. Shame we couldn't talk for longer, but great. Former Director, Ghana School of Law, mincing no words at all. Kwaku Ansa-Asare. Disgrace, shameful behavior are some of the words that he's used. Talking about the fact that the net should also be cast wider, than anybody who is a functionary and whose name has been mentioned should be questioned by the Special Prosecutor on these matters. Indeed, there will be so much work for him to do that he could quite comfortably wait for Ken Ofori-Atta whilst he interviewed all the other people. At the moment, he's not even aware that anybody else is being called, calling for the Special Prosecutor's Office to not witch hunt and questioning its purpose at the moment when the Director of Public Prosecutions, which used to be, by the way, a very famous office, and there was one really famous Director of Public Prosecutions, Jekedako, back in the day, and he was just like a hero, everybody's most feared lawyer. And he was the Director of Public Prosecutions when it was an office. Now we don't even know where it is. Anyway, so he's calling for that to be looked at and strengthened again and made independent. And let's see what would happen there. Anyway, a lot in that conversation. Bringing us to 8:39. Asaase Radio 99.5. We've been talking about pronouncements by the Office of the Special Prosecutor and talking to Kwaku Ansa-Asare, former director, Ghana School of Law.
Make way, make room. Okay.